Storytime about how my roommate tried to steal my boyfriend. When I was 18, my parents told me that I had to move out. I found a really nice apartment that was pretty spacious, but I definitely couldn't make rent on my own. I put out an ad for a roommate and found a girl named Jenny who seemed really put together. When Jenny moved in, everything was fine. We got along well, but didn't overstep any boundaries. When the pandemic hit, my boyfriend started staying over more. Jenny didn't have a problem with this, as we had plenty of room and didn't bother her. Over time, I started noticing little things Jenny would say and do. Whenever my boyfriend came over, she made it a point to wear as little clothing as possible, but when he wasn't there, she would be in full-on PJs. My boyfriend and I had date nights a couple times a week at home. She would invite herself to our date nights and solely focus on talking to my boyfriend the whole time, laughing a little too hard at his jokes. I'm not easily intimidated, so I didn't read much into it and didn't think that she'd ever actually try anything. One weekend when I was sleeping in, my boyfriend woke me up. He had gone for a jog and was making his post-workout smoothie in the kitchen, and that's when Jenny approached him. Apparently, she told him that he should stay and hang out with her when I went to work instead of leaving when I leave like he usually does. She only got more flirty with him from here. Part 2 of how my roommate tried to steal my boyfriend. My roommate Jenny continued passively flirting with him. One morning, she came into the kitchen wearing one of his t-shirts that we put in the wash the previous night. When I asked her about it, she said she didn't know that it was his and she found it in her laundry basket. She changed and threw the shirt at him with a smile. A few nights later, she sent him a picture on Instagram in her bra and immediately apologized, saying she sent it to him on accident. He quickly sent me the screenshots of the messages. The final straw was when she tried to make a move on my boyfriend one night when I was running late from work. He was waiting for me in my room when she barged in intoxicated. She tried to straddle him and kiss him, but he quickly pushed her off. When I got home and confronted her, she flipped out and started cursing me out. She locked herself in her bedroom the rest of the night and wouldn't come out to talk to me. The next morning, I told her that she needed to move out. The following month she did, but that didn't stop her from taking a final shot at my boyfriend. She messaged him on Instagram and asked him to come over to her new place. She said she would keep it a secret and would do anything he wanted. Obviously he showed me and I posted the screenshots of her thirsty ass and tagged her. She got flooded with messages about being a homewrecker and she deleted her social media accounts. Luckily I haven't heard from her since. Story time about how I found out my boyfriend was married. I had just moved to a new state and decided to download Bumble to meet new people. One day, I matched with this great guy named Alex. He had a good job, his own house, never married, and no kids. We lived in the same town and we started spending a lot of time together. However, I noticed that Alex started doing some weird things. He started coming over unannounced. Before he left, he would always check to make sure that the doors and windows were locked, and when I wasn't with him, he was always blowing up my phone constantly asking what I was doing. A few months into our relationship, he introduced me to his family and I introduced him to mine. It also turned out that we had a ton of mutual friends. He knew my new best friend Laura and her husband from the gym. When we made the connection, he made it clear that he didn't want me being friends with her anymore. Anytime I would bring her up in conversation, he would get agitated. Laura and I were both teachers at the same school. One afternoon, she came storming into my classroom. She told me that she had just had a girls' night with the girls from the gym. They were all showing pictures of their wedding since one of the girls recently got engaged. That's when she noticed that my boyfriend was in pictures with another woman. It turns out he was the husband of one of the girls that she was having dinner with. Part 2 of how I found out my boyfriend was married. When my best friend showed me the pictures of my boyfriend and his wife, I was livid. I saw red and immediately texted him telling him to come over to my house to talk. He ended up calling me on the way home from work but refused to come over to my house until I told him what I wanted to talk about. When I told him, he automatically started blaming my best friend and her husband for telling his business, saying it wasn't theirs to tell. I felt so angry and betrayed, but most of all, I felt stupid for not knowing. I told him it was over and that I was done with him. I didn't hear from him again after that. He moved away and no one at the gym had seen him either. A few months after everything happened, his wife posted on Facebook saying that she was getting a divorce. It turns out that he had beaten her up so badly that she ended up in the hospital. This abuse had apparently been going on for months. I felt that it was a blessing in disguise that I had gotten out of that relationship. Seeing how controlling he was within just a few months of dating, who knows what would have happened if I didn't find out and kept dating him. Luckily, I haven't seen or heard of him since 2018 and I hope that I never do. This is why you need a security system for your house. A few years ago, I was renting a house in Northern California. The neighborhood was just outside of the suburbs. It seemed like the perfect balance of having space and having nice neighbors close enough not to feel isolated. The area had no streetlights, so it was very dark at night, but it didn't bother me. I got home from work one evening in midwinter. It was a cloudy night, so pulling up, I only saw what my headlights and porch light illuminated. When I got out of my car, I caught a whiff of cigarette smoke. That was odd as I had never smelled that before around my house, but I didn't see anyone nearby, so I ignored it and went inside. I had just gotten off a shift with a few hours of overtime and I was exhausted. It wasn't even 7 yet, but I decided to call it an early night. I woke up sometime later when I heard a noise inside of my house. I wasn't immediately worried because my best friend had a spare key and would sometimes come over. However, he'd always text me and let me know, but when I checked my phone, there were no messages. I called out my friend's name. There were a few seconds of silence before I heard someone stomping as they ran through the bottom floor. I leapt out of bed and ran to the closet. They were already up the stairs by the time I opened the door and stepped inside. I was terrified. That's when I heard them thunder down my hallway. Part 2 of why you need a security system for your house. The house had 2 bedrooms on either hallway and a bathroom. The bedroom doors were closed, but the bathroom door was creaked open. I was so lucky in that moment because he sprinted to the bathroom. That gave me just enough time to open the attic access in my closet and pull myself up. As I lifted myself, I heard the person run towards my room. I had just pulled my feet inside when my bedroom door burst open. He walked in and stopped. When he didn't see me, he went and checked the other room, then came back and turned on the light. A moment later, he ripped open my closet door. After a few seconds, he stepped away and I heard a loud crash come from my room, followed by a scream of frustration and anger. Then he went downstairs. I had left my phone when I ran for the closet and wasn't sure I could climb down without him hearing. After some time, the noises stopped. I counted to 1,000, then climbed down to call the police. My bed had been flipped, furniture knocked over, and all my things destroyed. The only thing missing was a knife from my kitchen. The police found that the side door had been forced open by a crowbar. They also found cigarette butts and an empty tube used for drugs. They think he had been watching the house for a while. I installed some security on the house after this. I can't imagine what would have happened if he had come to my room first.